All right. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. I'm on the line right now with Ben Schilla and Parker Anderson from the University of Wisconsin, Madison branch. I was able to meet a couple of these guys. They found me on YouTube and found me on a couple other issues because of all the events that have been transpiring here in Washington following a lot of the left push for the anti-fascists and a lot of the anarcho-communists who have been really pushing into the city with a lot of protests and a lot of anger, hatred, violence, so on and so forth. There's been recent events such as Mayday that came up that was made me rather popular in the community. I've already been talked to by a couple Seattle City Council members, as well as a couple other issues from the Libertarian Party. But there's more events coming from you, Ben. A couple things that just popped up with you. What was going on with you? I heard there was a little thing that happened against your family.
Okay, so my explanation is there was also a Mayday event here in Madison. So I walked, after one of my classes was finished, I walked over to that protest to try and talk with some people and maybe engage in some conversation to ask what their positions were. Then at the event, I saw some members of Antifa, like fully masked, with faces fully covered. At the event, I think there were about 6 of them. One of them was carrying this huge ass flag. So I decided to pull out my camera and try to film. The guy with the flag saw that, and he apparently did not like that too much. So he immediately ran over to me and got about an inch away from my face, shouting at me, calling me a Nazi, telling me to get the fuck out. And I was like, no, this is a public place. I have the right to be here. Fuck off. So then I basically just filmed him. Like, I marched down the street filming him as he was marching in the protest. I tried to keep my distance the whole time, but he was like, he left his own group to like stalk and follow me. This guy is crazy.
You've actually posted about, is it that same guy that you've posted about a couple times? The ones who've engaged with you? I think it was like a nose ring and a couple other people who said, yeah, I'm a fucking communist. Is it that same guy?
Yeah, I believe
it's
I am
99 people that show up
at the time. I was 99% sure it was the same guy because his voice sounded the exact same. He was wearing a lot of the same clothing, etc. It was officially confirmed later when someone else managed to find the guy's Facebook page, and they found a public post he did proclaiming, yeah, it was me who was there. I was stalking this kid because I've seen him before at previous protests. He's clearly a dangerous person.
So you also told me the other day that apparently you just recently got doxxed.
Yes, actually, in fact, some recent page came up. So someone posted up a page on some random website that someone created using WordPress, apparently, and put up like pictures of me and my family members, and gave away like information about my parents, my sisters, and one of my sister's boyfriend, the other's fiance.
Yeah, the picture you sent me was, I mean, there was pretty much any information I ever wanted about you. It had your address, it had your family, friends, your family's relationships, contact information, pretty much everything.
Right. Like I'm trying not to get too many people to go to the website itself because I don't want it to get like more views or anything.
I would like, hey guys, come say hi to me.
The main issue with this,
but yeah, you saw the screenshots.
The main issue with this, beyond them, just posting information about your family and yourself, is that they do it with the intention of intimidating or threatening you.
See, right, that is clearly the idea.
Clearly,
Maybe it's
Because
different here in Seattle. I mean, I've already been doxxed before. They doxed the wrong information because I don't really post any of my information online. So,
Mhm.
but even if that happens, I'm not really in fear of anything happening. Like I don't really see anybody coming to my home trying to intimidate me or hurt me. And even so, it's like, wait a minute. You guys don't believe in violence. And even if you did, like, I've got my very large dog here. I've got my own, protections here. I'm not really too worried about that. Is it really different over in Madison?
Um, well, I don't believe so. I mean, not much. There's very little crime in Madison in general. Crime rates are very low. However, a weird event happened to me just today, where someone came up to my door. He says he's from Middleton. He said that he saw this website from some Berkeley Antifa Twitter page, and that he was concerned for my safety.
wait.
That's awkward.
Your residents on campus or your residents off campus?
This is at home here.
Like at your parents' home.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. We've gone to the point, I've told you this before in private messaging that, this is a matter at this point where there is just cause for police investigation. So just the fact alone that you have all this evidence that could at least possibly lead to one person receiving some kind of punishment, whether that's a Class A or Class B misdemeanor or some form of, online harassment due to like the actual docs, because you can't let them back you into a corner like this, obviously.
Yeah, I would, Ben, because how old are you, Ben?
23.
All right, so you're still pretty young, and I know it's affecting the lives of your family, your parents, your brother, or I believe it was your sister's boyfriend, so on and so forth. Like, honestly, because it's affecting that many people, yeah, I would reach out to police, definitely. At least for no other reason than it just being, noted for an official purpose. So that way, if it continues, the harassment comes up, it can be documented. And it's like, yeah, there's a reason that we're starting to get concerned. People have doxed us. People have come to our house. Personally, how do they get the information?
Well, you mean the address?
Yeah, I mean, whoever doxed you, how'd they get the information?
Well, my best guess is they may have gotten it from my merit page. It's a page I created back when I was studying at H.W.R College, which showed like that I was getting semester honors and stuff. Initially, I tried to adjust the privacy settings so that it would no longer appear on Google searches, but apparently that hasn't worked. I just checked like today and the page was still up. So I decided to just delete the page altogether.
Well, shit.
Another possibility is they could have gotten it from white pages.
Very well. Touche. So there was on the other side of the scale, I've actually had a lot of good news in my life, not being doxxed and attacked and things like that. There's always been like the people who are on campus calling me a Nazi, calling me, scum, so on and so forth. I'm kind of used to that. That's a Tuesday for me. On the other hand, there's been a couple, really cool developments as of recent. So I had a talk with the Libertarian Party following the Mayday. If you guys were, if you guys didn't get to see any of my Mayday videos, I didn't really post anything about it because it's not my videos. But Durst the Worst, as well as almost every single local news channel, Q13 Fox, Como 4, King 5, Cairo 7, as well as the Seattle Times. I had a big picture of myself in the Seattle Times. Basically, if you look up the Seattle Times Seattle Peace Joint, I was approached by two City of Seattle council members who actually told me that by the way, probably the only reason our city didn't, go into a big thing of violence is probably because of me. pretty much during Mayday, everybody had gotten together in, I believe it was Northgate Park. I may be wrong on the location. I can never remember the name of the place. But basically what had happened, there was a lot of pro-Trumpers and a lot of anti-Trumpers, a lot of Antifa people who had gathered there. And basically they were both in each other's face trying to pick a fight with one another, just waiting for the other one to swing. I was able to actually just kind of put myself into situations where I could, kind of talk some sense into people, trying to bring peace about. And it was pretty entertaining. Finally, there was a person who had actually brought out a little bag of marijuana, and they started like putting it together and just kind of like, rolling the weed. And I called it, was like, dude, guy, like roll up a couple joints. Trust me. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, do a couple of them. In fact, here. And so I started holding a protest sign. Like it was someone else's protest sign. I grabbed it from, and I was holding it like a flat surface so he could actually have like a table to roll it on. When they were doing that, basically I started lighting it up for a pro-Trump guy, and then I grabbed over an Antifa guy. His name is Jacob, actually. I got to meet him after the fact, and we connected on a pretty cool basis, and then we smoked weed together, and it really calmed pretty much everybody down. Then I was an asshole about it and like held up a Pepsi and was like, "This is for America!" Like chugged the Pepsi like in front of everybody. Like there's videos of it on Q13 Fox and a whole bunch of other things like that. Like the Washington State news channels. I was all over the news for like 2 days straight. I got interviewed by Cairo 7 on the radio, and I actually made them laugh pretty good. And then they also interviewed me on TV about the whole event. But because of that, the Libertarian Party has actually talked to me once or twice, the people of Washington State. So they're interested in me. I don't know where that will go. It may go absolutely nowhere. I don't think I really deserve the merit that they're telling me that I deserve, but we'll see. You may have
hugs too, right?
Say again?
You offered hugs.
Oh, I did. I'm not really a huggy guy. Like I don't randomly go up to people and like, hey, dude, give me a hug. I'm just not that kind of person. But I did offer a lot of hugs, like pretty much to get people to calm the fuck down. Because there was this one guy, like everybody was wearing damn near superhero costumes. It got ridiculous. Like everybody was wearing superhero costumes, like armor and hockey pads, and basically bringing weapons like base stickman style weapons, basically to be into expecting a brawl in the street. And every single time something that started getting heated, I just randomly inserted myself, like, "Hey guys, how's it going? Like, what's going on here? Hey, you guys calming down? Awesome. Hey, give me a high five. Hey, what's that? Come here, motherfucker, give me a hug." And I just made it as ridiculous as I could. Like when you see someone being a jackass like myself, you can't really be angry about that.
Well, as long as you're not an asshole about it.
I wasn't an asshole. I was a jackass. I wasn't an asshole about anything. Like I was trying to be peaceful. I didn't want another battle at Berkeley in Seattle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I've seen actually some of Daniel Durst's footage on that. Like there were people throwing fucking M80s, and like, that's nothing compared to what happened in Paris during Mayday. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, there was a lot of protests and a lot of fighting in the middle of Paris. Like I know I saw Lauren Southern's channel where it was getting really, really violent, really bad.
All for nothing, really, because look how the election turned out there.
Yeah, Marine Le Pen got wasted.
I mean, it was predictable beforehand that, he was going to win. So it kind of just shows you that their motivations behind the rioting isn't, based on, the outcomes of the elections. Because in some sense you have part of Antifa that are sort of disenchanted, so-called liberals, but they lean as socialists, but they don't hold anarchist views to the degree that the Black Bloc does, but the Black Bloc and Antifa obviously has more influence as to what they do. So it's like, in terms of, the Washington, D.C. riots, for example, Trump's inauguration, I doubt that, if Hillary Clinton was elected, that, there wouldn't have been a riot. I still think that based on their history of at least, being against general partisan politics, that, are, how they view anything to the right of them, as, fascists. They're just going to get more violent towards each side. During that first Berkeley riot, when Milo went, there were, various graffitis that they left behind that said that liberals would get the bullet too.
Yeah.
So there's obviously no there's no alliance between the radical left and the somewhat moderate left, I guess you could say. Or at least like the typical social justice warrior that we talk about. Because I don't consider Antifas to be, just, social justice warriors. They inhabit different sort of political category altogether because, they share similar beliefs, but Antifa are strictly radicalized in terms of, if they become,
Like a domestic terror group.
well, if they gain any sort of significant positions of power within society, that, their methods would always, be violent and, would lead to sort of Marxist, Trotskyist tendencies of, how to rule the government, which is all utopian and bullshit.
Yeah. I was actually just thinking, would you classify BAM in a similar category as Antifa, Parker?
BAM.
Here's the thing. Okay, so at the Steve Forbes protest in Madison, Wisconsin, on April 25th, where we've encountered 2 members of our local Madison Antifa, there's only around, based on Ben's footage of them, I can only guess there's about 6 or 10 that classify themselves as Antifa. They are quoted saying in his video, that BAM is a separate thing from Antifa. Okay?
They are. All right, they are, but they have really, really similar practices. If you ever have the opportunity, I encourage both of you and anybody who is watching, like the 1 or 2 people, go to the Western Front. It's actually it's sponsored by Kraus something or other. I can't remember his name, but look up the Western Front on YouTube, and they actually do a really good analysis of BAM as well as Antifa. And I believe Sargon even had a thing on BAM specifically.
I think that you'll notice whenever, if you guys will notice that whenever we go to these events, that there's always separate groups that are technically part of the main group. For instance, at the Forbes protest, even though the event was a basic campus socialist event, there were people who were representing different groups within Madison. So, for instance, there was one speaker who was in charge of the Madison Feminist Directory. There's another guy who's part of the Madison H.W.R. General Defense Committee, Local 100. You can look up all these on Facebook.
Actually, the funny thing is, let me stop you for a second, Parker. Awkwardly enough, the CWW people that you just mentioned. IWW. So we actually have the exact same thing here, and those are branches of Antifa.
Yes, I was just going to say that, they all say that they're their own separate thing, but they're all part of like the same umbrella. They all have, similar leaders or chapter leaders that are in charge of everything. So like in terms of University of Wisconsin, there was a petition led by a group called the Student Coalition for Progress that was trying to ban Young Americans for Freedom as, you know, a university organization because they invited Ben Shapiro on campus. So they signed the petition, and at the end of the petition, they listed all the groups within Madison that were supposedly in favor of the petition. Whenever you notice the list they give, they'll give you more than 10 easily. If you try to look up these groups, for the most part, you won't find any significant information about them. You know, you won't find a website. You won't find, if you try to Google it, you won't find any sort of, you know, referential material as to, you know, check out what they're doing, because it's always the same people in charge of it. Even though I've only gone to 2 of these things, but me and Ben have always encountered the same people at these events, at these counter protests. Like, always the same speakers, and it's just generally the same type of crowd. And we notice it especially in Madison because there's not a huge presence of, you know, Black Bloc and Antifa at the moment. It's generally just, you know, your basic campus socialists mixed with your like really old hippie socialists from, you know, the 60s. So just to clarify, the 1 or 2 people that are watching, if you go to these things, try and notice to see who, you know, is showing up to these things, because they're all part of the same sort of umbrella, even though they may be part of separate organizations. That's part of their way, I suspect, you know, to make it harder for people to like track them in terms of their online identity, because their big thing, at least, you know, with people trying to find them, is trying not to get doxxed or, you know, trying to get their information released on the internet. So that's why I suspect that there's always these huge groups that are supposedly part of the local area.
We normally get, I believe it was on the March 30th protest. It was that took place at UW. It's when I was assaulted, which again you can see the tapes that I have on my YouTube channel. It was the one where the guy who called me a Nazi, that I'm hanging up Nazi posters apparently. That same guy has popped up every single time Antifa has been around. And even though I see the IWW or other groups, that single speaker has been in charge of like 3 different groups, and they'll all be the same, like 10 or 15 people, all just part of different groups with maybe 1 or 2 varying members. So they don't really do multiple different groups. It's just like the same group of people wanting to elevate their numbers by appearance by saying that it's multiple groups.
So, well, yeah, so this is just like a very small, loud minority kind of thing.
I wouldn't. So here in Washington, I think that they're Antifa. We are. They're losing the fight here. I don't know what it's like over in Madison, but Antifa, as well as a couple others, they are losing the fight here in Washington. And one of the reasons for it is because of the, I would have to say, the marketplace of ideas. Through peaceful means, not only myself, but multiple others who have gotten together doing peaceful things in, in opposition to the Antifa movement, we've gotten a lot of press. I'm probably one of the more notoriable people who have been seen in Washington because of it. But overwhelmingly, there are other people who are doing really peaceful things, like the entire Libertarian Party have really gotten together doing peaceful things, speaking out against Antifa, making sure that the word of mouth is getting around really quickly. Antifa is kind of shooting themselves in the foot. If every single time they get together, they're violent. You saw it down in Olympia here, which is our capital, and the homeless took them on. Literally, the homeless took them on and won. Homeless people took on Antifa and won.
Is that where they, the Antifa were committing arson on apartment buildings?
I believe so. I'd have to double check. Um,
Because
but
I've seen
that's
that footage, and you know, you're right that the homeless were pretty much just telling Antifa get the fuck out. You know, they were throwing like rocks and shit at them.
well, I believe that was that's in over in Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. So it's probably like Philadelphia then.
Yeah, that's over in Philly.
Because
Uh,
I've read stories where, people in the community that Antifa were trying to, in terms of them trying to burn like apartment complexes, that like community members were, forcefully, restraining them so that police could arrest them, and trying to track them down.
well,
Because
I think
obviously,
I've talked to a couple police officers that I know pretty well over through Seattle PD as well as UW PD, and they're starting to really get on board with what Antifa really is. I spoke to UW PD chief Vincent, a meeting together. It's awkwardly enough, he actually knows me by face and name. Like he even has my phone number and has texted me a couple times uh, because of everything that's been happening at UW. I've been accused of ripping the hijab off of a woman. I've been accused of like assaulting women on a regular basis. I think I even got accused of rape once. I think it was, but like I think that one got dismissed. I had heard like rumors of that, but I didn't really hear anything from it. Um, a bunch of
beyond
crimes.
violence, usually like their second biggest, weaponized tool of trying to take you down is, libel and slander. Basically,
Actually, I forgot to mention something important.
ruin your character.
This website, which was used to dox me, it claimed that I was releasing information of a 10-year-old girl. That was the allegation it made against me.
Were you?
No,
They're trying to attribute.
I mean, I don't think I really had to ask that, but I mean, just to
Yeah.
make sure everybody's aware. No, you didn't.
nope.
In terms of our local Antifa guy who basically got exposed, he basically thinks that Ben set up the whole thing. Like he made the wrecked SJW video and like was the organizer of all of like the people who like went to his Facebook page to tell him that he's a fucking loser and all that. Because like as soon as wrecked SJW vids upload that vid of our local Antifa guy, his Facebook just got fucking flooded. And I mean flooded with comments about just people telling him how much of a fucking loser he is, how he wasn't taking care of his kid, like
Being a
comments
deadbeat dad,
bullet.
having a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, everything. But it's this guy's fault for one, for threatening you, trying to get away with it. And then second, not, putting all of his information, in the public.
It's
I
true.
always
All it's supposed to be public.
See, I've always encouraged Antifa and a whole bunch of others people to come get to know me. Seriously, I don't know what it is, but the second that they hear that I'm a veteran that has alopecia, they normally shut the hell up because most of them do fall into that radical left category, where they're talking about how you are ableist, you're racist, you're homophobic, Islamophobic, so on and so forth. And once they actually, you take a couple of those cards away, a lot of them have been able to kind of disarm in front of their cohorts just by simply stating, like, come talk to me. The worst thing you could be is right. Come on.
I think the main issue with Antifa in terms of like ideologue groups, like if we try to compare them to the alt-right in terms of, how they engage with people, I'm more willing to like engage with someone from the alt-right, or they're willing to engage with me, because even though they're generally talking a lot of bullshit in regards to, how they want to run the country and, how they establish identitarian politics and do, all their sort of methods of thinking, Antifa takes everything way too fucking seriously. they treat it like a fucking religion. Meanwhile, the alt-right is sort of like half made up of trolls and then half made up of the somewhat serious white supremacist crowd that just don't really have a presence in any form in terms of, you know, like local governments or sort of, you know, protest groups.
Right.
If you know what
Actually,
I'm saying.
a funny story. You know that that Steve Forbes event that we keep referencing. Steve Forbes came to UW-Madison to give a lecture. He was sponsored and invited by the Young Americans for Freedom. A bunch of people came to protest that, and we were there to attend the lecture. So we decided to like just troll and mess around with the protesters in front of the event. So
We didn't even go to
the particular guy in question that we were talking about, he did a Facebook post about how, gosh, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We allowed these capitalists to like destroy us. They are like winning the battle against us. Ah.
He basically like admitted his defeat and fought, you know, part of their group thought we were Proud Boys. Like they honestly believed that, you know, we were Gavin McInnes's, you know, like little henchlings, you know? And, you know, they thought we were there just to, I mean, we were there to, you know, engage in conversation, but they thought we were purposely there to, you know, shut down their freedom of speech, which was complete bullshit. Because as soon as when we first got there, we were just watching the event. We weren't saying anything. We were just filming them and talking amongst ourselves. And then one of our friends, if anyone wants to look up the vids on Durst's channel regarding this event, our friend who's wearing, you know, he kind of looks like Ash Ketchum, just all of a sudden like interrupts. But as soon as he does that, everybody starts engaging with him. So, you know, they take the bait immediately. So they can't claim that, you know, he's trying to shut down the freedom of speech when they're engaging with us. And, you know, we're not, they obviously outnumbered us. We weren't, you know, like trying to show them up and, you know, telling them get the fuck out. But I don't know.
Well, the whole Proud Boys thing that you brought up, I'm finding one trend that's, you know, continuous almost wherever I go. I've been into a couple different states now that all of this has kind of started, and every single group that I get with who have had run-ins with Antifa, that the left has a really hard time differentiating groups. So for as many divisive claims as they create, such as, hey, you're disabled, you're, you know, Hispanic, you're gay, you're LGBT, you're so on and so forth, as many as those divisive things that actually come up, it's awkward to note that they have a really hard time understanding that takes place either through the Libertarian Party, the Conservative Party, Independent, or just people like you and I who are just more independent people who are singular actors in this whole, you know, whole ordeal. They're just kind of getting caught up in the mess or putting ourselves into the situation to where we can observe. I personally have gotten more of a response here in Seattle against Antifa by being positive. If my positivity didn't work, I would probably change methods, not like in a violent way, but I would probably try to change where people can understand what Antifa are doing. Personally, I've also been slowly but surely changing the reputation I have on campus, the University of Washington Seattle campus. I've gotten actually a couple people who have been really happy with me, not just professors, but a couple groups who are, you know, minority based, who have seen what I'm doing in the middle of like being all over the news. I think I got about 30 or 40 different people who were like, oh my God, I saw you on TV, like being really peaceful. I thought you were a neo-Nazi. Like, no, I'm good. Not a neo-Nazi.
This is just a question for you, but like, have you ever like, not in terms of now, because at least from what I'm reading from you, you don't take, you know, their sort of slandering you as much of a threat, as Ben's situation. Have you ever gone to, like university resources in terms of like the dean of students or the chancellor to try and sort of like sort this shit out?
Kind of. I've gone to these student body, like the events coordinator people who deal with a lot of these groups who are involved in the protests. This nonsense out, but it's all for naught. The majority of these people won't do anything. Like, they don't care. They will see it as a lie no matter what. I could tell them the sky is blue and they'll just call me a fascist. So it doesn't really matter what you do. If they have a preconceived notion of you, they will take it and they will run with it forever. And there's almost nothing you can do to change their mind. These are pure ideologues. There are specific people who are just kind of on the outsides of these groups. Those are the ones that I'm wanting to influence. Because simply by proving, yeah, by the way, they got a really big part wrong, such as I'm a Nazi, by identifying a disabled veteran as a Nazi, we're literally showing this squeaky wheel getting the grease. It's like, wait a minute, you were really, really wrong about who is a Nazi, and you're telling us to punch these people. Had I listened to you, I would have just been an ableist, because I just punched a disabled guy, hair, which makes him look like a neo-Nazi, which you identified him as a neo-Nazi and encouraged us to punch him. In which case, you just made a piece of crap out of me. So there is some of those people, and I would probably say the majority of these people are not bad people. They're caught up in a situation that they don't understand what the true motives of these groups are. They see Trump and they don't like Trump, and they will just understand that Trump equals bad. These people are against Trump, therefore good. And they don't understand the rationale because they don't have time. They don't have the time or the inclination to understand the political layers that are going on behind the culture war here in the United States. And not just like white Americans, but the Western culture, the one that's based on classical liberalism. Because the majority of the people who are, at least in my circles, your skin you are, we don't care what your sexual identity or whatever the hell you have. We care that you believe in liberty. We care that you believe in individual rights for everybody, regardless, as long as you respect that your rights end where mine begin, and vice versa. So when these people who are on the outside of these groups, who are just kind of getting involved in the political sphere, now that Trump has been elected, actually influence. These are the ones that we can get involved with and talk to them, show that, yeah, the whole basis of this group is not only nonsensical, but it's overtly violent for no real reason. Don't get me wrong, I don't like Trump either. But this is the wrong path to take. And if you do this, a lot of people are going to get hurt unnecessarily.
Yeah. I just want to do a little story time.
Has anyone ever made any complaints toward you through the dean of students or the division of student life?
Yeah.
Because that's happened to him recently. He got a full report sent to the dean.
I've been when I talked to the UW-PD chief, they literally have a picture of all the details. Like, they can't just grab a student and say, like, hey, you've done something wrong if there isn't this is not the way our school does it. They don't just like, hey, you're accused of this, you're expelled from school until we figure it out. They have to do they conduct the investigation regardless. And if they find any merit to the complaint, then they actually, engage with you. It's like, by the way, you're accused of this, and we've also seen, some practical evidence that shows that, yeah, you may be involved. But everybody who has been accusing me of certain things, like the ripping off of the hijab from some girl at the school, one, they found that you weren't even at the school during that time. And second of all, he wasn't at the school during that time, or he was at the school at the time, and he was in class. And the teacher actually said that, yes, he was in class that day because I go to all my classes. So you literally have, a timeline of like, wait a minute, you weren't even there in the same position. Like, he physically could not have ripped off your hijab when that happened, or when you're claiming it happened. And the wonderful thing is that I've seen is the fact that our president of the university will gladly just, the second any actual hate crime takes place during like a minority, such as like a black person, a Hispanic, or a Muslim, she is quick to write an email that will go to the entire campus saying that we don't believe in these practices or principles. And then when other people are getting hate crimes, such as a white bald veteran being accused of being a neo-Nazi because of the way he looks and being assaulted because of it, silence, absolute silence. Our president is pure garbage.
Fucking white male.
Fucking white man. You're a fucking white male.
I'm gonna send you this link, Kyle, because I don't know if you've seen the recent news about this. One of the heads of our student council / government associated students of Madison, basically her going away letter or whatever, resignation letter, is basically a fuck you white people letter completely.
I think Ben had linked that, didn't you?
I think I did too, one time way back.
Yeah, I think I read that.
For anyone in the stream, look up Carmen Gozi from UW-Madison. Try looking her up on Twitter or just Google it, and you will find the letter that she sent to Lori Beckwam, who's the chancellor, and then I think Rebecca Blank is the dean of students. But anyways, her letter is just basically, this university does not accommodate people of color. When I was on Associate Students of Madison, I was basically a token tool for white people. And, meanwhile, as soon as she wrote this letter, guess what happened?
What?
Black Multicultural Center just opened on campus. Like at the exact same time. I shit you not. So the university that's suppressing black people and other minorities spends millions of dollars to create a black multicultural center.
Not to mention the Associated Students of Madison actually voted to have this isn't being actually implemented, but the Associated Students of Madison voted to have free tuition for black students.
Well, so I think this is just going about a roundabout way of how to get reparations. And the one thing that I've got with reparations, and I've argued this before, and I don't mind putting it out into the public sphere because I don't really fear repercussion from this, is I genuinely disagree with reparations for a very specific reasoning. And it's not because, black people, screw you guys. It was because of the basis on slavery is very inherently different than the reasoning that we've given reparations in the past. We've given reparations in the past to, the Japanese Americans who were interned during World War II. We also gave reparations to the Native Americans who we pushed off of their land and stole a lot of it. And they've used these things as justification, as well as the, I believe it was the Tuskegee syphilis
Tuskegee
experiment.
Airmen.
Yeah, the Tuskegee Airmen. I believe we gave reparations for that. And if you notice something that is inherently different from these cases that there is to slavery, slavery had been on the North American continent for about 400 years. In 1776. And we started with the base principle of property rights as well as individual freedoms for all. And if you look at slavery, those obviously, clash, is that at the time, slaves were considered property. Although barbaric by our standards now, how are you going to justify private property rights and saying that you are against what the crown had been doing to you and then just turn around and do the exact same thing by taking someone's property, which is slaves at the time, which again, by our standards today, is barbaric. The problem is that we then, less than 80 years later, I believe it was 1786 or 1865 that we ended slavery, we fought the bloodiest war in all of American history. One of the main reasons is to stop slavery. The war was, by and large, the worst war that America's ever fought. It was the highest casualty count. So when you're looking at slavery and reparations for it, there was something missing, and it's the big American rubber stamp on the application of slavery. The United States never said, by the way, go do slavery. The Japanese internment camps, the Tuskegee Airmen, and the Native American push, those were all signed off by American presidents and American government policies that were saying, yes, go do this. Implemented and paid for and funded by the United States government. Slavery was not. It was already here when we came into existence, and we had to adopt the people after the fact. And then we spent the next 80 years trying to give individual liberty and rights to those people, which were beneficial. If you were to do any form of reparations, you could justify it for Jim Crow, but you can't really do it just for all black people because they're black, because that's not how reparations works, because not all Japanese people were put into internment camps. So it went to the people who are directly descendants of those who suffered and those who genuinely suffered. I think it was like $20,000.
Yeah. My main issue with the whole reparations argument is that, down to its simplest terms, it comes down to sort of the basic religious concept of, original sin. You in the present are guilty for guilty for what people in the past did. So, like, if reparations for Jim Crow, for example, were implemented, my problem with it is, how far down the ladder do we go? Is it all white people? Is it all white people in the South? Is it just white people that were implementing the laws, such as police and government officials, people who wrote legislation, private business owners? Like, there's no clear definition. If you try to ask someone who is, in support of this, they obviously won't give you one beyond, the broad spectrum of just all white people have to do this. So that's where, just the illogical, just fantasy that these people have in terms of just these grand schemes of just sort of utopian ideals. Oh, if we just give all this money to these people who may or may not have been victims of Jim Crow law, everything's going to be solved. We could break that down to basically any sort of leftist argument in terms of, anything really. Redistribution of wealth, private property rights, anything.
So I've always had a weird issue with religion here in the United States and how it's been implemented into law. So we have a lot of justification for our laws based on Christianity. We've based a lot of our laws on Christianity because we started, regardless of the documentation, we are heavily influenced through Christian doctrine. There's no real arguments about that. I understand that our founders primarily were deists and not Christians, but they really utilized a lot of the Christian doctrine in the positive light to be able to implement our laws. Okay? And after the fact, it's because there were so many Christians in the United States already. So the way that we've gone about, implementation of laws here in the United States has been primarily overtly Christian-based. And unfortunately, instead of just taking the good parts of Christianity, like don't steal your stuff or don't steal everybody's stuff, don't kill people, don't rape people, instead of taking the basics of that, we've gone down a road where it's been all the right used to be what the left is doing now. Ideologues who are pushing an agenda to suppress others. I remember like 10, 15 years ago, it was always the Republicans who were saying that we have to ban pornography.
Ban video games. Video games cause violence.
Yeah, ban video games, ban pornography, ban anything.
They were the forefront for all of that. And now you're correct. It's the political left that's doing that now.
Yeah, so you have, and I literally read the other day that the left really wants to ban video games. I think the Gamergate issue, and Anita Sarkeesian was pushing that about last year, 2 years ago, really, really hardcore. Ben, you're getting so upset.
Just you mentioned Anita Sarkeesian, and I was like, oh.
Because her whole thing is just frustrating. This person is a complete con artist who set up, an indie page or GoFundMe page to create, basically a couple of videos on YouTube, getting like over $100,000 from people, not even fully committing to completing her intended goal, and just saying all this bullshit about the industry and about gamers in general, and then just people in the industry like game journalists, so-called game journalists, just eating this shit up. Because I don't know how much of a gamer you are, Kyle, but me and Ben have, always commented about like how people in games journalism are primarily leftists, like most sort of media organizations.
And the super crazy thing is, like, I never really put games into a political sphere.
No,
like,
it shouldn't be. It's entertainment.
Like, I'm a pretty big, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a pretty big gamer. Like, I've got an Xbox. I play on my, I play Heroes of the Storm if anybody ever wants to play with me, FYI. Um, but I play on my computer. I play, like, PlayStation 4. Currently, I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn. But I've got the Xbox, I've got the PS4, I've played PS3, Xbox 360, like all the way down. I've been playing games since I was really, really young. But I've never really put it into a political sphere. And I never understood, like, when I think of video games, I still think of Donkey Kong. I know that's stupid, but I still think of Donkey Kong, not just because I'm an out-of-date gamer, it's just because of nostalgia. And I don't really think of how that could be perceived as racist. And then when I look at Grand Theft Auto, it's just like, okay, yeah, you're killing people, but you also don't have to. You don't have to kill people if you don't. You can literally play the entire game 4 or 5 people, and that's pretty much it. Like, you don't have to do that bad. You can normally just drive around. In fact, Grand Theft Auto 5, the huge chunk of the game, playing golf, doing yoga. Like, they're literally giving you an ability to play The Sims in a nice level, or you can take the opposite route, which is what most gamers do, and go create carnage. Steal a multi-million-dollar jet, fly around, and kill a whole bunch of people with it.
And also, too, there's that No Russian mission from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
And that one I can understand was political. I get that one because it was a terrorist act in an airport following 9/11. I get that one. But what this kind of political ideology is pushing forward is like the left purist mentality, which is like, it doesn't portray women in a positive light the way we want to see it. It's not that you're not portraying women, because Lara Croft is really, really popular. Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn now is extremely popular. And you look at
Samus.
Yeah.
Obviously, I could think of more, but I mean, any fighting game, there's always, half the roster is always female characters. So like Chun-Li, Cammy.
Oh, but how dare you? They're wearing slinky clothes.
Exactly, but still, here, at least with our Anita Sarkeesian, a lot of her arguments about, how men and women are treated, in video games come down to like the stupidest fucking things imaginable. She did a whole video about how characters' butts are presented in the game.
Parker?
What?
Sorry, this is my dad. You're not dead.
Right. So yeah, it's just like a bunch of like nitpicky bullshit. It's like, if you want these things to be implemented, make your own fucking game. Let the free market work. If it works, the industry will fucking, go through with it. That's why Call of Duty is as popular as it is. That's why for years you had an oversaturation of first-person shooters that are basically the same fucking thing as Call of Duty. If you make a video game that's like has feminist themes, that has all this crap, that the left supposedly wants in video games, let the free market do its thing. Let consumers decide if it's a good game or not. And that's it. Don't try to shove this crap into art. Because video games are art at the end of the day.
Like one example of where they like totally shoehorned it in was in Battlefield 1. There were some of the campaign missions had you playing as like a Bedouin woman in the Middle East in the conflict for Arab independence where they're fighting against the Turks. The problem with the way they did this though was, first off, there was no point in making it a female character at all, in that she was basically essentially like the same as a male character. And second, historically, it seems a bit. I mean, I'm not terribly knowledgeable about this subject, but I don't know if women really played like that kind of physical fighting role in that particular conflict as they portrayed it. It seems a bit historically inaccurate to me.
Someone had, by the way, someone posted a comment on the live chat. It kind of made me laugh because remember when they were freaking out because No Man's Sky had the word man in it?
Oh.
Okay, so you want no women's guys. So you want a game that has possibly the biggest downfall of profit and just people playing it right away. You know, go ahead. If you want to call it No Women's Sky, go ahead. No Man's Sky was a fucking failure of a game.
Actually, I think this was actually posted just a little while ago. That they actually, oh God, I can't remember what university it was, but they are actually grading people down if you use misogynistic words such as man, like manpower, or a couple of the other things like that. Something that
have you heard people trying to like change human because there's human? Because I've heard that too. Like, it's just fucking nuts.
What do you do? Like Hugh Person?
Well,
whatever. There's like
Hugh Day.
You know the weird thing is that actually kind of throws me through the loop. Like every single person who's involved in the culture war with like the Antifa and things like that, most of us are gamers. Like we enjoy games. Like we play Xbox, we play PlayStation, we like PC Master Race, the whole thing. Fuck you all, PC Master Race bastards. But I'm a console lead like through and through. I know, but like overwhelmingly, like every single person that I run into who are on our side of this culture war are the like really got started in this culture war based on the Gamergate stuff.
Yeah, them trying to fuck with our entertainment. They're trying to fuck with our hobby. And they're trying to blame us for this societal problem, supposed societal problem, through our hobby. Which I think, which
more
is
about teaching us a lesson.
And that's what something like that's what the left was always against. Like we want to go have sex, we want to go enjoy our dirty movies, we want to be able to say the things we want, see the things we want, play the things we want, and then like now they're the ones coming out of the woodwork saying that no, you can't do this because it's not right, it's not pure. But like it's always kind of thrown me through a loop that where I was actually talking about this to a buddy of mine named Mark the other day, and it was you're watching kind of today. Do you remember back in the 1940s where Roosevelt? I know that we don't personally remember, but Roosevelt was a Democrat, and he was the kind of he was the interventionalist, like the one who wanted foreign intervention. Then you also saw it during the Eisenhower administration, like it started to flop or to switch. Then you see it again during the Reagan administration where it went to more the Republicans are more pro-war again. And nowadays you see the exact same thing happen where like you're seeing that turn in the political sphere. Like the political parties, what the left used to be is like free rights, everybody's an individual, we can do what we want, and the Republicans are trying to be the whole Bible thumpers who are trying to like maintain order and trying to say that no, you can't do this because it's against God and you have to be with the purity police. And now it's the exact opposite where it's switching, where I'm actually going to take from Drinky on our live stream. He just brought up Mass Effect Andromeda. They were right. A huge chunk of why Sarah Ryder was taken down a notch is because they complained that she was too beautiful looking, even though she was based off of an actual person. So it's just kind of odd to me that you see that the political spectrum is switching once again, where the Republicans are the ones saying, no, we don't want to be involved in foreign wars. We don't want to hinder freedom of speech. We want to be able to play our games. We want to be able to watch our movies and do things without this purist police and damn near Sharia police telling us to shut the hell up and that we're bad people just simply because we watch movies. Oh,
Yeah,
my
And those
apologies.
kind of
My apologies, Trent.
presidential
I don't even
elections.
know how to say I don't know how to pronounce her name, by the way. It's apparently a she. Most gamers are guys, I will admit, and so I assumed your gender. My apology.
Oh, how dare you!
What a fuck up. Anyways,
A bad
Mass Effect has an interesting history regarding like political commentary because when the first one was released in 2005, the whole discussion in terms of like the rights problem with it was, its depictions of, the main avatar character being able to have relationships either way with male and female characters. And now, like you said, Kyle, it's, another fucking thing, but it's the left now. So it's not even 15 years and you see just a change that fucking quick. It's on the same subject, basically. Just an interesting observation diagnosed.
An observation that I made too is that people tend to vote for the presidential candidates that are less pro-war and less in favor of like wanting to constantly control and regulate everything people do in their everyday lives.
Well, this is one other thing that I kind of brought up was the fastest way that personally I think that we could cure this whole thing, and the reason that the polarization of our political ideologies are like going so far apart now, is mainly because the executive branch has so much damn power. Because now that whoever gets into office, the other side of the spectrum, like the left, now that Trump is in, is going to suffer greatly because Trump has a lot of power to be able to enforce whatever the hell he wants because the executive branch has so much power. When the Democrats get in, it's the exact same thing towards the Republicans. I know that the IRS was purposely targeting Republican groups for an audit. And yet you have people I agree with Texas Spirit. Like, no one's willing to actually converse with one another to say, yeah, by the way, you're probably right because I'm probably right too. And instead of saying that you're 100% right or I'm 100% right, more than likely you and I are both 50% wrong. And the true and like the best thing that we can actually do is cooperate with one another, find what works with the best of both worlds, and stop being a fucking asshole about everything.
Yeah.
Then, like, I would love to start a new political party of like the not asshole party. Like that's pretty much like, let's not just be fucking assholes about everybody. Like, you go do you. If you want to be gay, you go be gay. If you want to be LGBT, like, I get that you're going to be uncomfortable in a bathroom, but you also have to consider there's like 40 or 50 other people. Like, all right. I've never understood why that's an argument. I really don't. And it's because, one, if you're a female going into a male, you're going to use a stall because that's the part you have. If you're a male going into a female, you're going to use a stall because that's all there is. And if you are already post-op, in a situation at the urinal where I look down, I'm like, I don't know if that's real, man.
Yeah.
No. Like, that never fucking happens. So, like, the bathroom issue isn't really that big. The only thing that I could perceive as being potentially uncomfortable is like public dressing rooms. And that could be easily solved by a privacy curtain or two. Bam, you're done. Calm the fuck down. So instead of creating these nonsensical political arguments about how we have to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars, of how now we have to have like gender neutral bathrooms or gender blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, guys, calm the fuck down. This has been going, like, people who are transgender are 0.3% of the population, and they've been here for fucking ever. Like, transgender people are noted in the fucking Torah by the Jews. They're actually one of like the 6 genders that the Jewish people identify.
Yeah.
And like, so this has been going on a long goddamn time. Why is it now an issue? Guys, calm the fuck down.
The main issue is that the current transgender community is just so flamboyant in terms of like they want to make themselves known in terms of how they're being oppressed, but in reality,
you're oppressing others by trying to get specific things for you. And don't
yeah,
get me wrong, like it's not a matter of transgender rights because you have the rights. It's just I'm literally gonna quote Scotter out of our feed. It says the bathroom issues was never an issue before SJWs, and I agree. It's the rise of the fucking left purity police.
well, I was also
Interesting story, actually. One thing that recently happened was, well, I don't know how recently this happened, but Ben Shapiro was talking about how at this one public school, they had to allow like a trans person who identified as female to use the women's locker room. And initially, they tried to like designate like this person to get like a separate curtain to change in, so the girls can't see him change. And the parents were like, "No, screw you." So they got rid of the curtain, and he just changed with everybody else.
I think the main issue with at least the current transgender community is that a lot of it is a trend. It's not like a complete lifestyle in terms of people actually committing to, doing the actual switch, actually doing the surgeries, injecting, hormones and testosterone, and actually committing to the lifestyle. I think, a lot of people that, at least anecdotal evidence from YouTube, at least, a lot of the people that say, oh, you're mispronouncing, you're not saying my proper pronoun, whatever, they're not trying. Like, it'd be like a dude in a dress. You could clearly tell it's a dude, just dressing like a female, cross-dresser. But, there's no actual sort of trying on his part to make himself look female. And,
well, and I agree with you. Like, but the problem that I have, like, if you want to do that, you do you. My problem is when, like, in New York City, you can have up to $250,000 if you purposefully misgender someone. So if you say that you a female, you're obviously a male. That's you controlling my speech.
which is why Bill C-16 in Canada is a fucking atrocious disaster.
Every single trans person that I know doesn't give it. In fact, I know one just moved in with a really good friend of mine. Like, and this person, like, I was really super worried about like them moving in together because of the suicide rate that transgender people tend to have. Like, I personally wouldn't want to risk living with someone who has a propensity of like almost a 50% suicide rate. That would be really worrisome for me. Like, it's still a friend, and I'm glad that I'm glad that they're there together, like hanging out and living together. But that person doesn't care. It was originally a man, and it's now transitioning into a female. Care what you call, like, what gender they are. They don't care because it's not that big of a deal. They know full well, yeah, I'm an anomaly. Like, yeah, I was born a male. I'm now a female. I understand that everybody who knew me beforehand understands me as a male, and so there's going to be some hangups on like, yeah, you still see me as a male, and it's really going to be really hard to get that out of your mindset. It's just not going to be overnight. And she clearly looks like a guy, like, except just with long hair. So it's really, really hard. Like, I expect you to call me a female, but everything about you looks masculine. So, like, to have in New York City, to have someone who would dare like be fined $250,000 for misgendering someone, and the compulsory speech that they're putting forward through legal means is mind blowing. It's absolutely mind blowing to me that you dare legislate that.
It's scary. It's scary knowing the fact that in terms of transgenders who commit to the lifestyle, they're not, trying to get this shit implemented. It's all outside parties or the really vocal trend genders. The trend genders, your college fucks who, like what I've said before, you find a guy, cross-dressing, says he's female, obviously isn't. It's those people that are enforcing this shit. Real transgenders, like, who are committed to the lifestyle, like I said before, they don't want to put themselves out there to, make everybody conform to their fucking lifestyle. It's infuriating because they're the minority voice in that community.
Yeah, the problem that I ever have with transgender people is not like with the individual, it's the suicide rate. And the majority, if you actually look at the statistics that the LGBT community and the transgender people have actually put forward themselves, is that overwhelmingly throughout the United States, like nationwide, it ranges between 39 and 42% suicide rate. And it doesn't really change even post-op.
No.
When you're looking at
it's ridiculous.
So, but the suicide rate, like the people who actually have a similar suicide rate are roughly the people who have untreated schizophrenia or untreated bipolar disorder, who are genuinely mental disease, like genuine mental disorders. People are like, no, it's not a mental disorder. Yes, it is. Like, the science isn't in. We don't know. And I can't claim to know that yes or no, it is or is not a mental disorder. But why would you stop research when everybody, if we were to shut the hell up for a second and realize that our end goal is all the same, we want to bring their suicide rate down. That's the end goal. We want to bring their suicide rate down, whether it be a mental disorder or not. We want that to come down. We don't want our friends who are either through a mental disability or through a regular, like just an identity issue. We don't want them to kill themselves. Normally, we grow up with these people. We love these people. We care for them. We don't want them to be hurt. And so if we were to shut the hell up and stop being fucking assholes to one another for half a second to go, oh, you voted for Trump, obviously you're a hate-filled bigot. If you shut the hell up for just a second, you could realize the majority of all of our arguments, we all want the end goal is the same thing. Just stop killing yourself. And if we can do that through medication, perfect. If we can do that just by being really, really nice and playing patty cake, we'll do that too. But so far, playing patty cake has not decreased the amount of suicide rate, including Alabama, where they're treated very, very poorly, and Seattle, where they're treated very, very well, the same.
I think we got down to most of these, political topics. We gotta find common ground on that. Our government fucking sucks and cannot fix anything properly. At least, federal government, state and local governments can do fine. We cannot have big government solve our fucking problems, which is why the left is a fucking monster right now, because they try to use big government as, a political fist to get all their policies enacted, saying that they're for, the middle class, the working people, the oppressed. Meanwhile, big government does not give a shit about you.
Big Brother's not going to help us.
Advocate for.
And so I'm getting a lot of comments right now on the stream where like a lot of people are coming out as left, and I want to make sure that this is pretty clear. There was a video that Dave Rubin put out a little while ago where when I was in the Marine Corps, if you were to actually talk to me then, every single man, woman, and child who knew me would say, yeah, you're flat out a leftist. You're a Democrat. You're definitely not a Republican. Stated was that the left left him behind, where the political spectrum of what is considered moderate or centrist now is super, super far to the left. And I'm considered conservative now by basically stating everything that Democrats were spewing for years, which is should have the individual right to be able to express themselves as they see fit, whether through sexuality. Yeah, I'm anti-gay marriage, not because I don't support gay marriage, it's because I don't want the government involved in marriage at all. So I don't support straight marriage either. I'm also divorced, by the way, so that might be a ringer for it. But overwhelmingly, like, if there is government involvement in marriage at all, it should be equal. Go marry whoever the hell you want, as long as you're a consenting party. If they have the ability to consent, no, the government doesn't have the right to say no. Shut the hell up and get out of their business. If that's what a classical liberal person or a person who would be considered Democrat 5 years ago staked. Unfortunately, you're looking at nowadays where I'm considered conservative, as I believe that people should have the freedom of speech regardless of a harmful opinion. And I think we should have to make a differentiation between the left and, like, I just don't have a word for it. Like, we have like the racist assholes like the alt-right, far right spectrum, who are a whole bunch of white supremacists and assholes. Like, don't get me wrong, like, we have that identifies them. But we don't have anything on the left where we look at, there are Democrats who are traditionally good people. Like, the majority of Democrats that I know are fucking awesome people. But then you have the super far left who are like involved in Antifa and the social justice movement, and these college professors who, honestly, every single time I go to my global health and justice class, I want to shoot myself.
Global health and justice.
Seriously, it's a law class. It's not like a social justice class. It's literally just a law class, and I'm trying to go to law school. So,
a law class.
Is this the same class where one of your professors claimed that compared the Constitution to the Communist Manifesto?
No, that's actually one of my political science classes that I had to take. That was hilarious. That was, oh man. Like, I know this is crass, but I really wanted to hit my dick with a ball peen hammer at that point. I'm like, oh my god, doing that would be more pleasant than sitting in this class. Like, I hate my classes so much. I hate the university I go to. So there was an issue that she brought out a case study where we had to identify human rights violations that's going on. And it was a 16-year-old girl who had already had 2 kids in rural Africa. She had to walk 5 miles to the clinic for birth control. They said, yes, absolutely, you can have it, but we're out of stock at the moment. So she walks the 5 miles back home, and 2 weeks later, she's already become impregnated by her husband. Keep in mind, she's 16. 9 months later, she's about to bring the child to term, but she can't walk to the African clinic because she's pregnant. So they send a midwife to her. Unfortunately, she dies in pregnancy. Like, she dies during childbirth. What human rights violations are there? And we're looking at this, and I'm really confused. Like, I don't identify any human rights violations. She had the access to health care. She wasn't told that she can't have birth control. They were just out of stock at the moment. And then, just because she was pregnant, they sent a midwife out to her because she couldn't access it. So there are no human rights violations. Nope, apparently I was 100% wrong. Because she had to walk 5 miles in rural Africa to get to a clinic. That's a violation of human rights to access to healthcare, which I was really confused by that, because apparently the actual definition is you have to be able to walk it has to take you at most 1 hour to be able to get to a clinic, or else it's a human rights violation. And because the average walking speed of a human being is roughly 4 miles in 1 hour, because it was 5 miles and would have taken an extra 15 minutes to walk there, human rights violation. Also,
why should you use a shitty example like that from Africa, where you could just cite like countless human rights violations that are actually happening?
Like actual human rights violations.
Yeah, like in South Africa or Zimbabwe.
Like making sure that where women who are over in like Saudi Arabia or Iran or things like that, where they will literally be stoned to death if they are caught outside without a male escort or without the hijab or their burqa on. And yet they're focusing on some of the most minute, nonsensical goddamn issues that I've ever seen. It's like, how dare you create the Wonder Woman thing? Did you hear about that?
No.
So the new Wonder Woman movie, they are, one of their ads or like one of their promotions is for a health bar, like a protein bar, and that it be like one of the catchphrases for that is like think healthy or think thin or something like that. It's a health bar.
Oh, Jesus.
And because of that, the SJWs came out. They're saying like, "Oh my God, how dare you? That's fat shaming."
Oh, there we go.
And
yes,
it's like,
encourage unhealthy lifestyles.
like, why would you want people to like live a lifestyle that will traditionally lead to heart disease?
As someone with type 1 diabetes, I would not wish anybody to have diabetes as a disease because it fucks with every system in your body. And, type 2 is, I believe that, if, once you're diagnosed, as soon as you get back to a healthy lifestyle, you can, transition past it. But, for people, let's just say if, someone who's fat gets type 2 diabetes, and then they're pregnant, and then they pass off those genes to their kid to where their kid has a possible chance of receiving type 1 diabetes, I wouldn't wish them my fucking worst enemy because this disease fucking sucks. And I hate when people are trying to encourage people do these really reckless fucking habits that destroy their body and lead to these fucking diseases, which are becoming so widespread in this country to the point by 2030, nearly a third of the population will have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. It's fucking ridiculous.
It blows me. Well, first off, I didn't know that you had diabetes, so that's
fun fact.
That's an interesting note. I mean, you but
I'm so impressed.
I know, right? I mean, I in fact actually really want to go like eat a candy bar in front of you right now just to fuck with you.
Go for it.
Like, in fact, I think I have one. Actually, pause right there. I'm gonna go get a Reese's. Right. Why? Because I can, and just to fuck with you.
Okay, Ben, do you want to tell the amazing story from the socialist dude who tried to get in your face at the Forbes protest and finding out that you're autistic?
Oh yeah, I gotta tell that. That's amazing.
Read the Facebook messages, people. This is like fucking comedy gold right here. We fucking.
Oh, are you talking about the whole? Are you talking about like where he apologizes and everything?
Yes.
Oh my God, that made me laugh so hard.
I'm like, we buried this guy and we didn't even do anything.
Like it was just Parker just saying, he's autistic, right? And then Daniel Durst saying, that's an ableist microaggression.
Yeah, read the Facebook messages
people right now.
Get the context.
Going through my messages.
It's fucking hilarious, man.
Okay.
Which is why, like,
here we go. Alex Skill.
Like, if I said I like, would that affect how they would like interact with me?
Okay. So here are the messages. Can I read them loud?
Yep. Go ahead. I won't interrupt.
Okay. Hey, I am the commie you guys have make fun about quite a bit for what I see in YouTube. The reason I am writing you is because watching your videos, somebody in your group screamed at me that I was intimidating a person with autism referring to you. At that moment, I did not hear him and would even suspect.
God damn it, Ben.
You have social handicap. Support what you guys are doing. I can tell you it freaks us out a lot, especially because in USA, there's a lot of repression against minorities and left-leaning groups, especially coming from extremist right-wing groups. While I do not support it, the last thing I want to do is to cause any harm at you. If I knew that you have autism, I would have measured my response to you. I don't think of you less, but can understand that by me directly confronting you, I can create more stress to you in a severity I never intended. So, from now on, understanding this, I will not interact with you directly, unless, of course, you confront me, and I will spread word around about your condition. We can be opponents and yet find out how to be human to each other. Thank you.
This was like a day before they were calling you a fascist Nazi, so that's just the icing on the cake right there. I mean, it's amazing. Just like that.
It's amazing how fast the crisis of culture a little while ago. In fact, actually, everybody who's on the live chat, honestly, feel free to give me your interpretation of this. Feel free. I encourage you, and I would love as many comments as possible on this, if you could. So I was having a crisis of culture the other day, and it relates kind of what you were like, what's in that message and the basis of this. It is liberalism genuinely a good thing still? Because I was, and let me explain a little bit, because it's like, how dare you? Or do you want an authoritarian push? No. What I mean by that is that the whole social justice push that's going on today is not isolated. If it was just happening in America or Canada, Britain, France, Germany, like Europe or something like that, the people who are base their governments on traditional classical liberalism, like if those were isolated incidents in those countries, I would understand that the social justice nonsense is rather isolated. But we're seeing the entirety of the classical liberal societies are pushing this super, super far left agenda, and it's all rising, like out of the ordo liberalism from Germany or Sweden and Brexit and Great Britain. We're all seeing this same thing, that it's eating itself. It's eating itself alive, and it's destroying itself. So when we're looking at like the classical liberalism approach, where everybody has rights and everybody has everything like that, which I support, I find myself doubting the success of it, because overwhelmingly throughout the entirety of the Western world, we're seeing the Western or the liberal culture or the liberalist culture eat itself. And I don't know if that's based on the people who are still classically liberal, or if this is just the natural progression of classical liberalism, or if this is like a different offshoot of like a rise of authoritarianism, and that's what's confusing me. So is it still a good thing when we're seeing the entirety of the Western world, who's based its society and civilization structure on classical liberalism, doing the exact same thing? So is this the natural progression of classical liberalism? And therefore, I would say no. Like that, if this is the natural occurring thing for liberalism to happen, this is awful. Because we're watching the slow decay of a society that was once the most affluent in the world, that literally helped 1 billion people within the last 50 years get out of poverty and gave rights to the world. And yet we're seeing liberalism just devour its own. Just like the communist guy that just wrote to you, it's like, how dare you, you're a Nazi. It's like, oh wait, by the way, he's autistic. Oh, well, now I can't do anything about him. It's like, literally to fuck with everybody we can, because if I can't make a joke about a Muslim at all, period, because I'm quote unquote punching down, what if we get a Muslim version of Trump? What if we get a Muslim version or a Hispanic version of Trump? What about insert whatever version of Trump that we are no longer allowed to make fun of because of political correctness?
So if he were a Republican, he'd be called like an Uncle Tom kind of thing.
Uncle Tom or a coon. Any dissidents, dissenters are always referred in that way in regards to like collectivized communities, particularly I unfortunately have to say the Black community, which is why, if any of you in the chat know this, the Hotep community is basically Gamergate for Black people. So it's basically like the libertarian, like conservative, ANCAP, classical liberal, like area of online activity regarding the Black community. So if you want to see like rational people and not just like bullshit people like Tariq Nasheed, check out people like that guy T or Uncle Hotep. That's just a random plug.
Yeah, I always plug the because we have 10 people watching, I always encourage everybody to watch the Western Front. It's a podcast based, so it's easy to listen to. I always encourage people to listen to that. It's fantastic. I enjoy it every single time they put out something new. In fact, that guy, the reason that I mentioned is because that guy T was just on their most recent.
Did he?
Yeah, so he was actually talking about libertarianism and everything.
The funny thing about him in particular is that if you follow his Twitter feed, he's got some really like fucking out there opinions, and like his recent video is about how, you know, the libertarian movement needs to like embrace some form of like libertarian fascism in terms of like ousting the political left, which I find interesting. But it's like I've said before, it's good for people to check out these kinds of people, um, rather because obviously there's tons of dissenters, not just within like the black community, but within like the Islamic community, like people that want to, you know, reform the religion and all that, and how they're just constantly being harassed and, you know, threatened by just the collectivized side, the ideologues.
I always see. I'm trying to get more involved in the Libertarian Party because honestly, I find it as a really good middle. You can't deny that parties are going to be a big part of the political system, regardless, right? And I see the Republicans as just as bad as the Democrats, the majority of the occasions. A lot of them are a whole bunch of Bible thumping weirdos who just keep saying like, no, you should ban porn, and we want to take everything from you. It's like some Republican points I agree with, but not most. And then the Democrats are the exact same way, but in the opposite side of the spectrum. I find the Libertarian Party really, really good because it really focuses on, guys, the Republicans suck and so do the Democrats. Let's find middle ground. And I would love it if we could, independents and libertarians, the primary two-party system. If we're going to have a two-party system, I don't agree with the two-party system overall, but if we're going to have one, I would like it to be the Libertarian and the Independent Party. So everybody comes centrist. And if anything else, I recommend the preferential voting system, or like the ranked choice voting system that they have like over in Australia. You vote either Clinton or Trump or Johnson or blah blah blah. You rank them. It's like I vote Trump is number 1, Clinton is number 2, Bernie Sanders is number 3. And if you're the person's first choice, they get like 5 points. And if you're their last choice, they only get like 1 point. And so the person with the most points at the end of it, and most of the time it's the person who's like everybody's second choice. So like everyone is pretty happy about it. Because that way, like, the majority of people out there either fucking voted for Clinton because they hate Trump or voted for Trump because they hated Clinton. And that's not the way to run a political system. It's just stupid.
Ben is guilty of one of the two.
Yeah, I voted for Clinton to try and oust Trump. So
you, boo, Wendy Testenberger, boo.
I'm worse because I voted for Gary Johnson. That is the greatest insult of all.
Oh yeah, he said Clinton was a wonderful public servant, and it's wrong to call illegal immigrants illegals.
He's a leftist who masqueraded as a libertarian, and I should have known better than to cast my ballot for him, even though I did in 2012. But that's because in 2012 I wasn't really into politics that much. I just wanted to get away from the two-party dictatorship. So I was just like, oh, this guy's different. But yeah, this is partly why I kind of want to disassociate myself with. I'll still call myself a libertarian, but I don't want to be attached to the party in any way.
Yeah, that's
because I just
have
think
that same thing.
A bunch of fuck ups.
Yeah,
should we talk about that?
See, that's the thing. If I were, let's be fair, and honestly, I asked the people who are watching too, if I were actually a person who is the head, like a face of the Libertarian Party, would you see the Libertarian Party as a little bit more credible? Because right now I'm looking at people like Gary Johnson, who are like talking to reporters doing like a moron. Is a dumb shit. And and he just kind of stupid. So whenever I say I'm a libertarian, people are like, "Oh yeah, Gary Johnson, the one who's smoking weed and doing that." So I was like, "Yeah, but the whole smoking weed thing is basically you're allowed to do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting someone."
That's why the whole Aleppo thing was just such a big blow to the libertarian movement, because obviously people were digging on him so much just because of that. They wanted to just ruin any sort of credibility with the Libertarian Party, even though there's so much bullshit attached to Trump and Clinton. But yet there's all this stuff on Gary Johnson not knowing where the fuck Aleppo is. Guess what? Not knowing where Aleppo is a good fucking thing. We shouldn't even be in Syria. Even though you have a different opinion on that.
I personally don't even blame him for the whole Aleppo thing, because like that was actually a newly occurring thing that was going on. It was like a public issue that had started maybe about a week prior. People who are like running for office are not up to date on like up to minute politics, so I can understand why he did it. I just still think the whole thing, I just want to smack him.
Yeah,
he's a moron.
He did an interview where he like tried to faint on the floor. Like he's just a fucking goofball.
So I was talking to him last night.
Talk about that one guy who got up on stage and did the thing.
Oh my fucking god! That's okay. That's where the Libertarian Party just I was done with them. I was completely done. The Libertarian Convention, where the fucking fat fuck with the tattoos and the neck beard stripped down almost naked and started dancing. Guess what? No one in the fucking crowd was like, "Get this fuck off the stage." They were all cheering for it, applauding him, and I'm like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out."
This isn't a fat neck beard version of Beyonce that we're here to watch. This is a political rally. Do what you're supposed to and actually talk about the issues, please.
Make politics fucking boring again. Talk about, like
I know. Thank you.
Policy. Stop making fucking, figureheads and, icons.
Did you see
demagogues? Stop it.
Did you see Donald Trump's newest tweet that pretty much became a meme like within 30 seconds of it coming out?
He tweets.
He tweeted the word "we." That's it. He tweeted the word "we." W-E. That's it. That's all he did. Yeah, W-E. That's all he did. And like, there's a firestorm over it.
Yeah, fucking Christ. Just like, oh, he has his steak overdone. He has only one scoop of ice cream instead of two. It's like, Jesus Christ, we're going to have fucking 4 years of this.
I've never seen, like, don't get me wrong. I know I'm a youngling. I'm only 28. I know I'm a youngling. But I've never seen even historical precedents where the media or everybody has hung on literally every single word of the president just to crucify him on.
Oh, God.
Although with George Bush, there was the whole thing about he couldn't open a door.
Like, yeah, but like that's just making fun of him. But there wasn't anything that where he said, "My fellow Americans." Oh, he said, "Fellow Americans, we're divided. Fuck you. How dare you say that? Because that's ageist." It's like, or some other bullshit.
Is a cis heteronormative term. Can you like check your privilege, please? And this is a safe space.
Yeah.
They're just grasping goddamn straws. It's just give it a fucking rest. Like, learn from your downfall. Like, immediately after the election, you should listen to the lecture people were giving you on, hey, you can't fucking demonize anyone who doesn't agree with you, and you can't try to be this influential and authoritarian over others. You got to stop that. But no, they just keep doing it.
They double down.
Yeah. Which is
absolutely
a damn if you do, a damn if you don't regarding Trump's presidency. Because obviously, if he was going to get elected, we get this. And if he wasn't, we would have got Clinton, and that would have been a fucking disaster. And it would have emboldened the left to be more, aggressive in terms of establishing their power.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I would have, like, if Clinton were elected, I know that would happen, and I would be like, all right, I was really scared and worried about Trump, but I just helped create this monstrosity we're dealing with right now. What?
Motherfucker.
So I was actually talking to a couple people last night, and I was in a meeting with. It's a libertarian, like a couple people who are actually direct representatives from the Libertarian Party, and they asked me what I think could help reform the Libertarian Party, and I see this really large divide between ANCAPs, like the anarcho-capitalists,
Who are crazy.
And by the way, I'm gonna call you out, the Dranky girl, because she said she was an anarchist. And more than likely, I'm going to see her as an ANCAP, not a ANCOM or anything like that. But they were asking me what I see as the biggest problem is with the Libertarian Party, and it's because the Libertarian Party was essentially created between a mixture of minarchists and anarchists, ANCAPs, because they all believe in the free market and so on and so forth. But the biggest problem is that we have people in the party, or people who are associating with the party or closest to, and they say it's my way or the highway, and they're unwilling to even concede to the point of anything where like you're at least taking a step in the right direction, to the point where you could even have like you could be now welcomed at the table and have your opinion at least heard seriously. Like they just abandon any all forms. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to vote for it because it doesn't match 100% of my ideals. You are currently living in a society where the laws are going to affect you. Why wouldn't you at least want to put in your say to the extent that you could potentially have a seat at the table to be considered, opinions would be considered seriously. So I do ask Dranky for in the comments, like if you don't mind, if you don't like ANCAPs, and you say you're an anarchist, can I ask what kind of an anarchist you are? Question mark. But my number one anarchist. She doesn't want to be part of a group. She's an anarchist.
Yeah. Anyways, the other problem with libertarians, Ben, we've discussed this verbatim like a billion times. Libertarians they can't throw all their eggs in one basket. Stop trying to grab the presidency right away. Get into local and small governments.
Yeah.
Establish yourselves. Because otherwise we get Gary Johnson as a fucking failure, or we get instances like Rand Paul and Austin Peterson who, are jumping ship over to the Republicans. So it's like, fuck, if you want the Libertarian Party to actually be something, guys, you gotta, get smaller. Stop having these fucking grand ideas of, controlling the executive branch, because it's not going to happen, because the general electorate basically doesn't even know what the fuck you are. They don't even know that you exist.
Show that you're taking this seriously.
I don't
really thinking into it
regarding the presidency portion of it, because the majority of the population won't understand what a libertarian is, and the running for the president isn't actually running for president. It's actually just providing a platform that you can actually spread the message, like, take us seriously, we do exist. And that way the people who are voting for a local constituency can actually say, oh, well, I have heard of the libertarians, let me understand what they are about. The problem is that they're putting their eggs in the basket of the morons like Gary Johnson.
Well, the thing is, we gotta get past the point of where the debates are closed off, because without the debates, there's no way anyone who is beyond, the two-party dictatorship is ever going to be the president. So we have to overcome that hurdle. But yeah, we're all in agreement. We need people who are actually fucking serious. And hopefully that will happen in like 10, 15 years. Who knows? Because, this was just the perfect opportune time to see, like, someone else. And then it's just Gary Johnson again.
By the way, I want to make sure that one of our people doesn't feel ostracized. Texas Spirit, you're fucking awesome and we love you. You're not ignored here.
I'm not reading the comments. I should probably read the comments.
I read the comments. You're just an asshole, Parker.
Yes.
So and Scotter and like anybody else and Glenn Dad before whatever. So like I appreciate all of you guys for watching.
We're a very dedicated audience.
I don't know why. Like we're a whole bunch of dumb shits. You should
Yeah.
never listen to it. In fact, everything you've heard today, you should literally just go the opposite route. I'm just obviously a neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
I mean,
you have the appearance.
I do have the appearance. And to quote the ginger-bearded little fucknut who called me out at UW, you know, you put two and two together. That's all you need.
Just like you put two and two together with a ginger, gingers have no souls.
That's not true. They have a soul for every freckle on their face, and those freckles represent the souls that they've stolen from children.
Okay. Because otherwise, if he's a daywalker, then he's like half soul. You got to distinguish from like the daywalkers who just have like the red hair and the full ginge.
The full ginge. The great way to say it, full ginge.
Dude, let's get back to the days where like gingers were oppressed. Where like National Kick a Ginger Day was a thing. That
actually was a thing.
Get to the gingers next. That will be their next demographic to preach and work for.
Okay, so with that, like I wouldn't have a problem with the whole prima noctra thing because the majority of like redheaded women are absolutely gorgeous.
Yep,
it's true. Like if I could be the one who's doing like the whole prima noctra thing, it's like, well, their women are gorgeous. Let's be fair.
Yeah, so, but like if you look at a picture of like Annie, you know Annie, you want to like kill yourself. You want to throw up.
I like how we went from like serious politics about like libertarian party reform and how to like genuinely roll back like overarching government power to like fucking redheaded women and gingers. fucking ridiculous. Yeah. By the way, this will actually be recorded for posterity, and whenever I do actually run for government, this will absolutely discredit me.
Are you like actually serious about running for like local government?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So I actually fully plan to run for a
like city council
seat on the like a city council.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever move to Washington, but if I did, I'll vote for you in a heartbeat.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so far I'm actually getting a lot of support from multiple people.
Kyle, you could bust us in, and then we could make it so that we could cast multiple ballots.
Just cheat the election.
Yeah, you could do the PNC route.
Yeah.
Like, do they even have like voter ID laws there?
Here in Washington? Fuck no.
Gosh.
We're way too liberal of a state. So, like, I know that there's a form of verification for identity, but it's not that bad. But by the way, and just to have Jay Alexander, no, I'm not running for Seattle City Council because I don't live in Seattle. I live in Shoreline. So I can't technically run there. I have to live in Seattle to be able to run.
Oh. How big of a population is Shoreline?
So, and Shoreline is pretty liberal just the same, but it has a little bit more of a conservative economic approach because these are primarily people who are a little bit more well off. So
sounds a little bit like Verona, huh, Parker?
Like, personally, I would love to run for Shoreline City Council just so I could endorse Humongous for Seattle City Council. That would be awesome.
Humongous? I thought he's from Europe.
No, dude, Humongous lives here in Seattle. He was the one who met up with that Zarna woman who's like, "How dare you? You sexist, you."
Yeah, I know. Humongous is a legend, but I thought that was like in the UK or something.
No, dude, that's like here in Seattle, man.
Jesus.
Well, the woman had like some kind of accent. Like, I don't know where she's from.
So I was actually hoping to meet with the guy because of like he became a meme really, really quickly, and I'm a local meme apparently. So like it's because like Zarna lives here in Seattle. Like she's been ejected out of multiple Seattle City Council meetings because she's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
I've seen the video where she's, screaming and bitching at people during the city council meeting. And
yeah,
having
it's like, yeah, we know your transgressions. It's like, dude, you're fucking crazy. Calm the fuck down. Like,
You
wherever the hell she comes
fucking
from like
cops. You.
either whether she's Indian or from like Pakistan or wherever the hell she's from, like, she's a fucking nutball. She's a fucking nutball. There is one part of my, like, the back of my head where I'm like, there really needs to be a test to have a child, and she would be primary evidence as to why. So
Well, maybe that'll correct itself.
It's fucking weird, man.
Yeah, we don't have as many celebrities.
Yeah.
We only got that one Antifa that we exposed.
Yeah,
He's
Jay
a-
Alexander. Yes, the girl who's actually yelling at him is Zarna. I'd have to remember her last name.
Joshi.
Yeah,
Zarna Joshi.
Yeah, Zarna Joshi. She's here in Seattle, and she was kicked out of yet another one just recently, apparently. Yeah, that's actually the girl who's like yelling at him, screaming against his face, and it's like, "How dare you!" Yeah, that's Zarna Joshi. Like, she's fucking crazy. I've seen her once before. She's crazy.
Wouldn't it be like the greatest thing in the world if that was like Humongous's actual like real name?
I would love that.
That would just be the greatest like gift to humanity if that was actual thing.
Like a driver's license where the first name is Hugh, H-U-H.
If that's like his real given name that his parents gave him. I mean, it'd be the most glorious thing ever.
I mean, shouldn't there be like some kind of limit where if you like outburst or show contempt in the court a certain amount of times, you're like suspended from going into the city council for a certain period of time?
I don't know. It depends, because I'm wondering if like part of that counts as like a truancy law, or just like a form of because I know in a courtroom they kick you the fuck out right away, but
Like, they can't bar you from Seattle City Council meetings, primarily because if you have a genuine discourse that you actually want to take up, it's illegal for the United States to ban you from these meetings because it's an open forum. But they can tell you, like, hey, be civil, and if you are causing a disruption, we can charge you with a crime for public disruption, as well as a couple other things.
Like a contempt of the court kind of thing?
Kind of, but it's just mainly a charge where basically you're being purposely disruptive to functioning of government, and so they can take you out and charge you for a small. It's like a class C misdemeanor. Like, it's nothing. You would spend like a night.
$500. Yeah, it's nothing too serious.
So it's really nothing. It's just not that big of a deal. But like, I was actually hoping to meet her one day, go to one of the Seattle City Council meetings, like meet up with Humongous, talk to him, and hang out with him for a little bit. And like, he's a good dude. Like, if you've actually followed some of that story, he's a really cool dude. After like, I think his like wife and his kid either died or has cancer or something like that, or he has cancer. Like, he's a really, really cool guy. And all Zarna does is she just pretty much calls everybody a racist, a sexist, like a misogynist and a homophobe. And it's ridiculous because everything that she does, like, I believe, what's her name? Yeah, Texas Spirit actually mentioned, he looked it up. Like, the person who kicked her out of the meeting was a Mexican dude.
Uncle Tom, token for the white supremacists. That's her logic.
Yeah.
How dare you try to oppress me?
that,
Trying to speak up for you because you are oppressed, and without me trying to white knight for you, you're stuck in this endless rut of being oppressed.
Well, the weird thing is that you look at the infantilization of almost every single like
Demographic.
up class. Like, you can't do anything without the white man. The white man has to provide for you. They're saying that they're all independent. They don't need the white man. It's like, you are contradicting your own arguments most of the time. Why do you see them as almost useless without literally us handing things to them? Like, don't get me wrong. I understand, like, a lot of black people had, like, if I were to try to actually genuinely help the black community, it would be, one, legalize marijuana and release and pardon every single person who is in prison for marijuana possession, not distribution, but possession. And the main reason for it is because there's a lot of these people are in jail for a huge amount of time just simply based on owning a little bit of pot, and now you're ripping black men away from their family. And when a kid is raised without a father, most of the time you're going to come out shitty. Like, it's not always, but you're going to come out a lot less ahead of the curve when you are with, like, a single parent home. And so if you want to actually help the black community, get in there, get people out of fucking prison for nonsensical reasons. Like, I understand keeping them in there if it includes a violent crime, but if it's just simple pot possession, yeah, get them the hell out of there. Get them back to their family. Get them back to actually earning a potential living. We have the highest rate of imprisonment in the entire world. How in the hell do we claim that we're a free fucking nation? Fuck no. Fuck no. Absolutely not. And honestly, we just need to reform that. I agree that like, the amount of people who are in prison who are black for nonsensical reasons is way too high. But then there's also the other side of the coin where, yeah, you did commit 52% of all murders last year. Proportionate amount of violence in the black community. Is that potentially done because there's no fucking fathers raising them?
Yeah. But they won't try to.
Said the white man talking about the black community.
Chicago alone this year has had over 400 shootings. That's just this year so far in Chicago, one city.
It's garbage.
Yeah, like, how many people died during the 4th of July weekend?
Well, I know for sure that at least like 50 got shot, but I don't know like how many people actually died during that.
I would guess around a dozen.
But yeah,
I would have to look up the statistics. I never say off the top of my head.
It's ridiculous because whenever you try to mention black on black crime, they're always like, well, you're most likely to get killed by people with the same demographic as you, blah, blah, blah. You know, why don't you talk about white on white crime? Well, it's like, well, first of all, we
take the statistics on white crime. And that's how we were able to measure the effect on black crime and white on black crime. So it's not a disproportionate race thing. It's a matter of the majority of the crime statistics that are coming out, black people are killing themselves statistically. If you have a problem with that statistic, well, let's actually try to curve the problem rather than just saying, well, I don't like this statistic because it seems racist. Well, fuck you and your bullshit on racism. So and by the way, like Glenda JB4, like I'm trying. Like, I know that I will never have the amount of information that I need to be able to properly assess, like, genuinely solve the problems in the black community. I didn't grow up in that community, but that doesn't mean that you can't look at the statistics and go, yeah, there's a big problem. The number one thing you could do is actually entrench yourself into it. Like, get people who are community leaders there. Tell me what the problems are. Tell me what I can do. But the number one thing we need to do is get people out of fucking prison. Detrimenting the economy by housing so many fucking people in the prison system. It's nonsense.
Yeah. We just gotta incentivize like the traditional like nuclear family structure again too.
I disagree with the nuclear structure family though.
Well, at least in terms of, you know, a kid having access to both mother and father.
So
a single parent.
Yeah. That one I agree.
Because yeah, I get you, like, you know, people don't have to be married, blah, 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 you know, but still, there's got to be some sort of family structure that's able to help, you know, the youth, you know, actually get through life and not just be stuck in this fucking, you know, sort of collectivized group think in terms of like, oh, if you branch out from like, say the hood or whatever, you're sort of like ostracized or whatever. When do you get to that point and to like stop making being successful when like in terms of a kid going to like college, we gotta stop having that be like a thing to like criticize. That's gotta be something that's looked up to as like positivity.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, every time that we talk about like the social structure system, the way that the United States is functioning, we keep having this like white privilege thing come up all the fucking time, and
It's only recent.
well, I know, and it's talking about like now. The number one thing, honestly, that I think of like privilege, like white privilege, yeah, there is such thing as a white privilege. I agree with that. People do have it, okay, but there are about 1,000 other kinds of fucking privilege out there. Black privilege would be able to walk down fucking Harlem streets without probably being shot. Like, black privilege is being able to openly say the word nigga all the time and no one giving a shit. So there is certain privileges on both sides of the scale. And the number one thing that I think is I think like that I'm genuinely happy about that I have privilege on, and I want all the rest of the 4 people who are in this um, the people who have like the privilege is height privilege. Dead serious height privilege. If you are a man and you are under 5'10", you are fucked.
Well, that's Parker.
Dude, like it is so hard to get a girlfriend if you're not tall.
Not really.
Like if you talk to like almost any woman, if you talk to any woman, it's always tall, dark, and handsome. And the majority of the time, if you're not like 6 foot tall, most women like that is their ideal man. Like they'll deal with you if you're underneath that. If you like have like a whole bunch of other things that like make you appealing, but there's a huge chunk of them are just like, bam. If you are like, if you're tall, you have such a head start. Even if you have dated someone who is shorter, like 5'7" from Glenda that she's put out, like, and you're taller, the likelihood that that's a normal thing, that doesn't fucking happen. It is so much easier to get a girl if you're tall because they want to feel like you're a protective person. They like, there's something about like a girl being able to put her head on your chest when you're standing tall, like that they genuinely enjoy.
Well, that could still happen to me. I'd have
if you get someone who, how tall
like are you? 5'5", 5'6".
How tall are you though?
Like 5'9".
Okay, so you're at least on the taller side of the short scale, but like I've always considered like 5'10" and up as like tall. So like, yeah, you can, but you also have to find a girl who's like 5'4".
Yeah, but that's generally the average though.
No, it's
They're
not.
not that hard to
The
find.
average is like 5'6", 5'7".
Well, still, that's still not as short.
So like, it's just a matter of
not every girl's like thinking, "Oh, I'm going to pick this guy because I can lay my my head on his chest."
Yeah, but that's not the only reason why. But there's a lot of people who are like a lot of women. It's like, how tall do you want your man to be? And they're like, oh, I really like 6 foot.
Yeah, but that's like based on first like introspection.
Yeah. Now, personally, I don't understand. Like, if you're allowed to say
where the age comes in, but after that, it's like, if you just got the height and nothing else, then you're fucked too.
Of course, then, like, if you really have a preference, why is it so bad if you have a preference for tall guys that we want thin women?
I don't know.
Don't everybody chime in at once.
Why is it that you have a preference for people of your own race that you're racist? Why is that a thing according to the political left?
That's always been weird for me. So, like, I've dated girls from all over the world, like all different kinds of ethnicities, and they are like, I know this is incredibly crass to say, like they are all like, none of them are any better than the other. Like, I was about to say something horribly inappropriate, and I double thought, or I thought again because this is going on YouTube.
Yeah,
Um,
that will ruin your chances at city council.
I know, right? It's never gonna happen. Never. No one would vote for a neo-Nazi like me. It's awful. Hell no. But yeah, it's the double standard that comes along with saying that that it's racist if you don't want to date someone outside of your own ethnicity or your own race, that it's misogynistic or sexist to want to date someone who is a moderate size. Like, I want someone who's healthy. Like, I don't need you to be 102 pounds, but I do want you to be healthy. I don't want you to like women already outlive us for a huge degree, but I don't need a woman to like try to catch up to my death rate. Like, if you want to die at 72 with me, like I understand that you want to go together, but you're going about it the wrong way, girly. Sorry.
Damn.
All right, guys. Well, we're hitting on like the about 3 hour mark, almost 3.5 hours. So how about we cut this out? We can schedule the next one. Honestly, I'll probably plan it a little better now that we actually know how to fucking live stream.
We need to get some of like an actual audience so we could get, even though this audience is pretty interactive, we need more people.
Even though Ben and fucking Parker didn't comment literally at all into the fucking comments, you assholes.
That's because I'm trying to pay attention to what people are saying,
What? And I'm paying attention, and I'm still engaging with Glenda and Texas Spirit and all of them. You're just an asshole.
Yeah,
I haven't even been reading them. I've just been listening.
Yeah, and then Ben is over there just like chilling out. He's like, "Yeah, what's up?"
Anyways, we'll get some of an audience
Sooner or later. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Hopefully, you and I could probably. In fact, I would actually like to do this a little bit more regularly.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Then I will cast out, and you guys, Ben, with you and your family, be fucking careful, man.
I've told him to get on it. He's kind of delayed it somewhat because he's wanting to like focus on finals. But I'm like, dude, you really need to like get a head start on this and actually commit to it.
Be aggressive on it and make sure that you're fucking safe. You and your family's safety is all that should matter. Like, don't get me wrong. I want you to keep fighting the good fight and like making people aware of this stupid bullshit that's going on. But dude, be safe. You are no use dead.
Right, gotcha.
So, like, even though I look like a neo-Nazi, like, I'd rather not get rid of the autistic guy out of the group. Oh, I'm just an ableist neo-Nazi. You know me.
Yep. You're definitely not getting that
ableist microaggression.
Although I do like the nickname that I've been given, apparently, the virtuous skinhead. I mean, I'm not against that nickname. I'm not. I'm like, that's could be worse.
Maybe you could be like, the free hugs guy.
In Seattle.
Who goes to like political rallies. Maybe you could be like the skinhead version of that guy.
Yeah, but that just like with me, I would just probably be called a pedophile all the time. I've already been called like everybody just likes to make fun of me just about pretty much anything and everything they can. And because I'm in college around a whole bunch of college-age girls, like traditionally you're going to date someone who is a little younger than you. I'm around people who are like 18, 19, 20 years old. So you normally date someone who's a little younger. And so they're like, yeah, you're robbing the cradle, Kyle. You're a pedophile. Like, she's like 20 years old. Just because I'm 28, fuck off. I'm like, nope, you're a pedophile. It's like,
well.
But of course, now that I've said that, this will be misconstrued and I'll be another Milo.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah, well, you don't have a book tour or whatever.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not a pedophile, FYI. I also do not condone pedophilia. I think it's wrong. But if she's 20 years old, yeah, you can date a 20-year-old if you're 28.
All right. He's totally not a pedophile, guys.
Fuck you, Ben. All right, guys. You have a good night. It's been awesome talking to you. Let's schedule another one for probably next weekend. Cool? Or either that or the week after.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Sure.
guys. I'll do so.
All right.
Have a good night.
Peace.
Peace.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.